Very good morning to you. Nice to have you once again. It's the end of the week, but we continue our exercise of bringing you more headlines, more news behind the news. This is RN Bhaskar from BKBB, which is an acronym for Bhaskar Ki Business Baatein. That's a channel that comes to you with policy analysis, with conversations, and occasional business stories. But at 8:15 in the morning, right now, we bring you news behind the news. And my co-anchors today are Katya and Anurag. There's Anurag. Thank you very much for being here. It's good to have both of you. And the three titles that we're going to talk about are given on a screen. The first is how United States and Israel are facing an exodus. And the second one is that while India continues talking about FTAs, carbon rules may stop India's exports to those countries and only permit those countries' exports to India. That will be a double jeopardy. And the third one is how the market for luxury goods is booming. But let's take the first story first. Straits Times carried a very interesting piece about how more Americans than ever before are flocking to EU to change their place of residence. Earlier, there was a time when the USA was the most coveted country to be in. Its passport was the most valuable. But many Americans, disgusted by the way their government has been behaving, does not want to be in America anymore. Remember, the same situation took place during the Iraq War, when many professors opted to leave India and go to Canadian universities. This time it's more serious. They just want to leave the continent and go off to EU. In a way, this exercise of America's moving away from America is a poor reflection of Jews wanting to leave Israel. By 2003, as disclosed by John Mearsheimer in an Australian conference, about 500,000 Jews had opted to move out from Israel to other countries. Most Israelis have double passports, dual passports. So they've gone away to those countries because they don't want to be in Israel anymore. The stench of massacres, assassination, genocide, and child killing has nauseated many. And according to some experts, another 2 million might leave Israel once the borders are opened and the transit rules relaxed. At present, we do not know the exact number, but these are estimates. About 2 million more Jews may want to leave Israel because they can't stand what is happening. Many more are going to vote with their feet, and this is sad. But in a way, it's a lesson to these countries that you can't live with hatred and killing constantly. Let's go to the second story, and the second story is more interesting about exports. Could you have Anurag?
Good morning. India exported goods and services worth $824.9 billion in the previous financial year, which accounts to about a fifth of India's total GDP. It's a remarkable number, but soon to be hitting in an invisible wall. Not tariffs or trade wars, but carbon footprints. A new Oxford study reveals two-thirds of Indian exports now face tightening climate regulations in key markets like UK and EU. When Europe's carbon border taxes are likely to kick in next year, and they'll most probably penalize India's coal-heavy manufacturing. Behind this news lies a deeper story of regulatory mismatch. While Europe operates comprehensive carbon pricing covering 40% of emissions, India's approach remains fragmented. The EU's carbon market, trading at £80 per ton, forces real behavioral changes. India's pilot emissions trading system covers just a power and aluminum sectors, which are just a fraction of its economy. Now, India's draft a sustainable finance taxonomy released this year is still voluntary. Compare that to Europe's mandatory taxonomy that's been reshaping capital flows since 2020. The EU's carbon border mechanism will essentially export their standards to Indian producers as well. Moreover, there's a huge performance gap as rival exporters supply the same markets with 20 times better carbon efficiency, largely through cleaner grids. Coal still powers three-fourths of India's electricity, inflating emissions across sectors, even IT services. India's 2070 net zero pledge seems distant when immediate trade access is still at stake. The country is still negotiating deals with UK and US, but without domestic carbon pricing that matches global standards, Indian exporters will face mounting disadvantages. The real question isn't whether India can maintain export growth. It's whether it can transform its entire industrial base fast to stay competitive in the carbon constrained world. What's your take on this, sir?
Anurag, this is a situation which many people knew was coming. And that is why we've been advocating both through this channel and elsewhere that India needs to diversify its markets to other countries that are more receptive to what India should be doing. Unfortunately, India has been going after FTAs, free trade agreements. What India should be looking at is free investment agreement, not trade. India needs investment, not trade. India needs trade, but without the carbon rules so that we can export and they can export. Now, with these carbon rules, they can export to us, but we can't export to them. It's going to be very painful for India. One, because of its short sightedness of not diversifying its markets, and two, because they've not understood how to trade effectively under the new regulations. Thanks, Anurag. Great story. Great. And now we go to a third story, which is lighter, simpler, and that's about luxury goods. Katya, couldn't have you?
Sir, luxury goods are no more only for the rich. In fact, the most biggest expanding cohort of people who are buying luxury goods are Henrys. Now, who are Henrys? They are high earning people who are not yet rich. Their earning is in the range of 20 to 40 to 60 lakh per annum. So more importantly, these are people, they could be doing couples, they could be staying in smaller cities, or even not just top tier cities is what people say. These are people who do not own a house, who do not want to build assets, which means they are not rich yet they spend a lot on. What do they spend on? They spend on apparel, luxury apparel, watches, handbags, and that is personal luxury. And then there is a luxury that is related to home, like furnishings, furniture, etc., household luxury, that is also growing very fast. There's also another interesting thing called culinary luxury, where gourmet foods and wines, etc., are purchased. So they are not shying away from these purchases. A lot of experts we spoke to said the people are in the mood to spend. So the first thing that picks up is beauty and apparel. So they actually chart out their purchases. So while luxury connoisseurs, who are actually rich people who use everything luxury, these guys convert some of their purchases to luxury, be it beauty, be it apparel, a handbag or two, etc., etc. So they are very interesting. And you know how big this luxury market is? It's, as of FY25, it was 27 billion. This does not include cars. Automobiles are not included in this, otherwise the number would have ballooned up. And it's expected to go to 60 to 65. And the percentage of Henrys in this growing in this growing market is going to increase, which means they are going to be guys who are going to drive the market. So we can expect more luxury malls, more luxury brands which have already reached even small towns, not just in a big store. You can see a lot of luxury. Lululemon is coming to India, so a lot of luxuries has been luxury purchases is spread, especially in the apparel way. But they are not shifting to offline as yet, so they need the trust factor to make these luxury purchases, and they would rather doing it offline as opposed to online. So what do you think about it, sir? People who are not rich yet making luxury purchases.
Katya, very interesting indeed. It just shows that India, the upper middle class, the so-called upwardly mobile, they will keep
Right.
increasing in numbers,
Hmm.
but the poor will increase faster. And the middle
Right.
class will get shrunk. And that
Always.
is a danger signal, because when the middle class shrinks, you lose values, you lose a steady approach towards what the market should be like. This is a mistake that India is making. But yes, for the marketman, for the man who sells such products, it's a very good news.
So
Thanks.
I just have one question. What about people who are investing? These are people who earn a lot. They're investing in closets rather than assets. What do you think about that culture?
Well, it's a good culture to have if you've got the money. Ultimately, money
Right.
has to show itself some way or the other.
Mm.
But I would prefer that money to come back into investments in India.
Mm.
Uh, if you have a consumption economy, when all investments into India are declining, then you have a
Mhm.
problem. But anyway,
Right.
one man's meat is another man's.
Mhm.
Anyway, thanks, Katya. It is always good to have you with us. And now let us go on to one of the questions that have come in. And before I go to the questions, just a reminder, please click the subscribe button if you've not clicked it already. And click the like button. It helps us. But most of all, please tell all your friends about us. It makes a difference. And let me take the first question. Do the exodus in Israel and USA mean that the citizen is disappointed by the practices? Obviously. Could India also face a similar problem? India is already facing a similar problem. In 2011, in the census we came to know that about 1 lakh Indians surrender their passport every year. By 2020, an independent survey showed that 2 lakhs, and these are figures that were given in the Lok Sabha also, that over 2 lakhs of Indians are surrendering the passport. And what is worse is HNIs of India are leaving the country. They don't want to be here. So in India also, the problem is huge. In fact, more serious than in other countries, because other countries produce millionaires. We don't produce as many millionaires as those countries do. Thanks. And that takes us to the second question. And the second question is for Katya. Uh, does this mean that the luxury market will continue growing in the near future?
Yeah, yeah. As the Red Sea report has indicated, it's going for a huge growth, might almost double, because there is a new set of consumers. Earlier, it was marketed only to the rich. Now they have to increase their marketing, social media, influencer kind of thing, where luxury is become an almost necessity for a lot of people. But like you said, it's a worrying signal when young people do not build assets.
Yes,
Unless of course it's a Birkin bag, there is no resale value for these products. And the only
very.
difference between a high earner becoming a zero earner is, job loss, which is quite possible. So,
What the Americans call ninjas: no income,
right,
jobs, or assets.
right.
Anyway, thank you. And there's another question: is the UK FTA trade agreement beneficial or only optics? Well, I don't know why India has been making such a to-do about the UK FTA. Is UK investing in India? Is it creating jobs in India? It's a nation of shopkeepers that wants to sell to India. And when we try to sell to UK, they'll find some excuse or the other not to allow those exports. I just don't understand this huge hue and cry on the FTA. India should be looking at bilateral investment treaties and not FTAs. But then, the government is the government. Who's going to question it? That takes me to the end of today's session. There is always some good news, some bad news. And one more thing that happened is that today is the last day of the week. So it means for 2 days, we won't see you. We'll see you again next Monday. Do be there. It's always good to have you here. Take care. Have a wonderful weekend and a wonderful day.